Welcome back to Next Normal, another very interesting session, and with the title Driving Superior Customer Engagement by Augmenting and Virtualizing Field Teams. Together with me, I have Richard Marcil, the Chief Customer Officer from conversationHEALTH. Hi, Richard. How are you?
Good morning and good afternoon. I'm really well, Dario. Hello, everyone.
Thanks a lot. And we have Erik from Bayer, who is actually the VP leading operations and digital strategy. Erik, same question to you.
Hello, everyone. Great to be here.
Fantastic. So looking forward to this conversation, Richard, and I can only say I'm all ears and the stage is yours.
That's fantastic. And Dario, you can see screen nicely. We're good to go?
Yes, indeed.
There you go. So let's just jump in. I think certainly Erik and I have 10 topics to cover over the course of 30 minutes. So we're going to have to do that fast and maybe a little superficially. I'd say I'd really encourage the audience to ask a lot of questions in chat. We'll answer them at the end of the session or after the session. And of course, I think Erik and I would encourage any and all conversations on LinkedIn or others. So glad to have that. I will take a bit of a view on and focus really on emerging and new best practices in terms of customer engagement. And really, what are we seeing today in pharma, globally, commercially, and in medical? Erik, I think we'll take a bit more of a sanguine, pragmatic view. It's really in the context of a manufacturer's ability to truly deal with big change in people, process, and technology that we've seen in recent years and months, but at a scale and a speed, and obviously within budgeting cycles of a manufacturer. So we'll cover customer-facing elements, 5 of them, business-facing elements, 5 of them. And like I said, we're going to fly through, ask a lot of questions. First and foremost, Dario, great set of presentations already a day and a half into this. And all of them really speak to the massive change we've all experienced over the last couple of years, right? And it is massive disruptive change. Certainly tighter access has put HCPs in the driver's seat. And they've also been exposed to much more convenient digital engagement and have in many ways and many digital options for accessing what they need when they need. I think the reality is that, like all of us, HCPs are now fully and digital first. One of the things, though, I wanted to contextualize in the context of an HCP's journey and others is the fact that our competition is none of our immediate manufacturers. Competition in many respects is for the search bar or is search, whether it's a search engine like Google or whether it's on a third-party website like Medscape. And search is a really tough benchmark, right? All of us do it. Our physicians and our patients do it. It's ubiquitous. It's easy to get to. It's on any device. And for the HCP, it's a really quick path to an answer when they need it, any time of day. But it's not perfect, right? It's called search. It's not called answer. There are a lot of results. There's not always the right or most current results. And frankly, if anything, they're the most popular results. Oftentimes, it requires an HCP to sift through content, long-form content and that. And most importantly, it's usually on-label content. What we've seen is a massive, significant increase in the consumption of off-label content. Erik, I'm assuming brands and lines of business like medical are trying to be more visible, more accessible to their customers. What's your experience?
Yeah, absolutely right. And what a 2 years it's been. It's almost to the day that the pandemic hit. And, when I look back, so much has changed. In the past, much of our time was focused on share of voice through our field force. And, now it's really about respecting and gaining share of the customer's attention, right? With heavy use of digital and virtual methods. And I guess a note of caution is that, there's the potential to bombard our customers with digital information, and making it simple for them, I think, is really key. Now, what hasn't changed is, our collective aspirations to support and serve our customers and patients, really empowering them to engage with us when they want through their preferred channels and methods. And we've heard that theme throughout the last 2 days. So this really requires us to know what they want. And we've heard it many times, ideally on a individual level or a personalized level, and then quickly provide the information they want through always-on capabilities and from anywhere. So in the spirit of keeping it simple for customers, we need to curate and provide access to trusted and relevant content consistently. And of course, across all channels, whether those channels are push and pull. And recognizing that, and this is important, recognizing that the techniques of the past won't likely fly.
Absolutely. And what a nice segue into our next chart, right? Which is what has to change is the way we go to market. I think the entire audience has seen a lot of data over the last couple of days, but also 6 to 12 months. And whether you're in North America or EMEA, it's very clear that effective reach may be at 50% of what it was pre-pandemic. It's not expected to grow substantially in the months and years ahead because the fundamental behavior of customer has changed. Even frequency has also decreased, and access to almost unassailable therapeutic areas like oncology have really been impacted. I think what's equally not shocking, but surprising and should galvanize action is the fact that in most markets and most therapeutic areas, there are more high-value no-CHCPs than there are high-value CHCPs. Let me just repeat that. There's more no-C high-value physicians than there are high-value C physician, right? Talk about the go-to-market model being upside down. So I think the reality is that many companies have adapted, they've had to, their relationship with their customers in order to truly meaningfully focus on their needs and reaching them in ways that were previously unavailable pre-pandemic, right? And certainly 2 of those are remote detailing, but also medical or MSL engagement. Medical engagement is all the more interesting in the context of HCPs and what they want, right? They're looking for certainly much more medical content, more clinical content, and again, to Erik's point, at their time of need in the channel of their choice. Erik, I'm assuming you've all witnessed that and you're shaping your business to that now?
Oh, absolutely. And, I'll reflect and say that there was a complete and sort of immediate disruption to our business model. And I'm sure, all our listeners have experienced that as well. And we've seen the data and the research that you mentioned. Of course, we've conducted our own, and it's so true that access is and was very limited for a field force. And it will be very interesting how that changes over time. As a result, I would say it's very clear that our previous understandings of our customers' attitudes and behaviors pre-pandemic and during the pandemic, like all of us, has changed, right? And maybe the change has been forever. So I do think, some customers will return to their previous ways. Yet I think the majority will look at digital as really a way to become more effective and efficient. And after all, why would we go back to the way it was before? And why would our HCPs and why would our patients go back to the way before when so much has been learned? And by the way, Richard, I was really, I'm really happy that you mentioned the no-C HCPs, because I think this is a huge opportunity in how customers engage with us and how, they see us through new channels, or at least, underutilized channels from the past. So, we're closely studying the changing environment and putting in, dynamic ways and methods to better understand our customers' preferred ways of engaging with us. I heard a speaker earlier this week, yesterday, and they mentioned the concept of collective intelligence. And I think this is really an important perspective on it. Taking the learnings and data collectively across the various channels and the way our customers are engaging us now to better understand them. So hence, the reason why we think by coordinating and augmenting and virtualizing the field activities, we see such a opportunity to improve customer engagement.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Erik, I think what you're speaking to is making sure that, or speaks to the fact that the opportunity is not to digitize and replicate the old push-only face-to-face model. It's really not about good old non-personal promotion, which is equally push-oriented. The real opportunity is really for companies to level up the value they bring and deliver to their physician. It's not shouting the loudest, push, push, push. It's truly answering in most cases, it's probably being able to answer questions and queries in real time, whether it's weekdays, weeknights, weekends. It's about accessing the latest medical and clinical information, right? Oftentimes not even available, certainly not available in search, and likely not on third-party website. It's about accessing short, bite-sized answers, right? I mean, none of our customers, none of our physicians are looking for just another list of documents, another PDF to peruse. Physicians don't have the time. I think to me, this is all about accessing information in the time of need in a very simple, intuitive way, but also not at the exclusion of humans, right? It's balancing, Erik, what you've said, is balancing push and pull in the channels and the tactics that physicians want. That's the play and the opportunity ahead of us. Erik, what are your customers? I mean, you are dealing with customers day to day. What are they telling you?
Well, you know what they're saying, be easy to work with, right? I mean, that's first and foremost. Be available, and think about that. Be available. That's not, business hours. That can be sort of that 24/7 concept. They want access to what they need across the full spectrum of services that we provide, whether that's commercial, whether that's medical, whether that's patient support. And really, it might even be less about what they're saying and really about, what they're doing, right? And if you watch what's actually happening and listen to your customers, the HCP and the patient is far more digitally savvy than ever. And all customer engagements now need to be much more informed. We talked about the importance of having them personalized and striving toward that personal approach. And importantly, being part of the fully orchestrated and integrated effort across their preferred channels. Our field teams are a critically important part of the overall engagement strategy. And we heard from the previous presenter around the importance of upskilling and training. And we are equipping the field teams with options for engagement, enhancing their face-to-face engagements, and of course, the various virtual options. What's important is that the data from all the formats of engagement are being provided to them in close to real time. So our customers, they're telling us that first of all, that they have really high expectations and higher expectations. They are very particular about their time and their interests, and of course, they're much more digitally savvy. And I guess I would summarize by saying, they expect a holistic view of all the services that Pharma is providing when engaging with us. And they really expect a sense of familiarity to their unique needs.
Yeah, and I like what you just said in terms of holistic view. I think to me, one of the most interesting developments over the past 5 years, and meaningfully accelerated by the pandemic, is the rise of medical, right? Medical information and medical affairs, or medical science liaisons. If anything, it speaks to what was an unmet need for medical clinical content, which nearly every company should provide more of, right? We've certainly seen this in the number of AI agents that we've deployed, many of which are in medical, to provide just what you've said, right? 24/7 access, but increasingly to on and off label content. And I'd say, interesting enough, the engagement and utilizations of these agents is very, very high. I think, as you've said, Erik, that the challenge is that physicians want to engage a manufacturer, not its individual departments, right? A physician doesn't think of manufacturer commercial versus medical information, medical affairs, medical education. The opportunities for us to make our companies and our brands as easy to access as Google, right? That's the benchmark. That's the competition. That's where the physician will go. Erik, I suspect not a surprise, but maybe easier said than done, though, in a world of medical, regulatory, and legal compliance.
Yeah, I would say it's achievable. It's not necessarily easy. And again, I go back to the concept of, just we need to acknowledge how much has changed and how much has been disrupted over the last couple of years. You mentioned engaging a manufacturer and not a individual department within a pharma company, and I really get your point, and I emphasize that point. And it's really important to provide ease of navigation to our HCPs to find their answers and provide the customer with control or autonomy when they're accessing our portals and our various platforms for information. With respect to legal and compliance and governance, particularly during the design phase, it is achievable. It doesn't have to be as difficult as one may think, particularly if you're focused on, the appropriate gating and authentication and, data privacy considerations. Governance is extremely important, but also with good controls in place, it's very much achievable. So really the challenge has been, building the navigational pathways or, finding the right technology partners, if you require that help, who are capable of delivering that, absolutely fantastic customer experience. And, to elaborate on what I need, and I'm sure many of the viewers have heard of this, particularly around how customer expectations are changing. The concept of this generation novel, right? For example, this new demographic of customers crossing all age cohorts who have lived and adapted during the last 2 years, right? And really now they are the masters of their digital domain, and they are savvy, right? They are informed, they're enabled, and they're extremely demanding of their time. So I would say, expectations are super high. And Richard, why don't we get into some detail on that?
Yeah, absolutely, Erik. I think this is where let's get deep and down on how AI and humans work together to meet the needs of those customers, right? I mean, this is where there's an opportunity for 1 + 1 = 3, having AI and humans work together. Certainly, AI's greatest potential lies in leveraging the technology to enhance collaboration with humans. And you can see some of this in a bit of a medical journey, where a physician's interacting with both a virtual and a virtual rep and a human rep, or a virtual MSL and a real MSL. I think the key, though, is recognizing the strengths of each, right? AI is really, really good at handling repetitive queries and tasks, right? Think of medical information inquiries, product information, service requests. AI works 24/7, doesn't get bored. It delivers at speed and at an accuracy that even humans can't match. And of course, it scales across channel, languages, and markets. AI is really, really good at self-service and pull requests. But people also perform better in complex, unpredictable environments than AI, right? This is why reps are better at work that involves social interaction and creativity. MSLs are way better at managing complexity, medical engagement, and ultimately relationship management. People are really, really good at contextual push or response. I think the opportunity is, how do we marry both together and really think of the ability to support an HCP at a point in time and over time with seamless handoffs between truly AI and humans in a way that the experience is always personalized, could cross across medical and commercial channels, and ultimately really allows us to develop a relationship with that physician or that customer or that patient across the enterprise, not singularly with a rep or an MSL. Erik, in the end, it's not about pull or push. It's about pull and push, and maybe pull and customer relevant push. How do you think of that? How do you drive home that mindset within the business?
Yeah, so this is a fun one, right? And I think experimentation is really important. And I see this as having, huge potential. And like many listeners, we are, pursuing this as part of our omnichannel strategy and how we execute. As you mentioned, humans and machines have obviously distinct strengths and weaknesses. I think some of our advanced analytics and AI and ML platforms are better than humans at understanding, complex interactions, patterns, relationships that we see within the actual data. And these platforms can scale, and previous presenters have talked about the importance of scale, and systems can scale often quicker than humans. Now, humans are much better at interpreting and gaining an understanding when the data is limited or thin, and we do this by using our experience, our existing sort of cognitive models, judgment, and intuition. So I think the real art and science is to increase our effectiveness and your effectiveness by utilizing sort of all forms and channels. And I see this as sort of the division of labor, right? The mix between your people and your platforms, and then scaling sort of where you can. And as I mentioned, it's been really fun. It's been really fun experimenting with AI and ML. Whether you're experimenting with creating HCP engagement portals, we're working with you guys around conversational agents and chatbots. It's been fantastic. And of course, some of the experience we've had with suggestion engines and digital assistants for our field force. So, Utopia, I think is building the perfect mix of humans and machines, and the right technology into your customer-facing interactions. And again, experimentation is an absolute.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think experimentation and leads, and one of the most powerful things that we're probably all experimenting and optimizing and growing our capabilities around personalization. And how do we personalize at scale much more effectively, right? And personalization is to increase engagements, improve conversion, to deliver just better and more relevant experiences, is to drive customer satisfaction, drive loyalty. And I think to a certain extent also recognize that while all HCPs are equal, some are more equal, right? Maybe high prescribers and KOLs get a slightly different treatment or can access some different resources. What I suggest, having been in the industry for a better part of 20 years, Erik, I still find it funny that we still live and abide by what are like 80s and 90s concept of customer segments, whereas we really need to move to customers or segments of one, right? In ways that we're being managed in every other aspect of our lives. If you're doing banking, e-commerce, and Google News, or any news aggregator, you are managed as a segment of one, and we can do that. Not easy to pull off necessarily, right? Because you need great customer data. You need intelligence on how to best use that data. And ultimately, you need to bring that data to life through actions, touch points, tools, and content. And we're going to talk about that over the next few slides. Erik, this to me seems obvious, the context or the concept of segment of one, but it's not a small undertaking. How do you approach eating this elephant, so to speak?
So eating the elephant, yeah. Not so funny response would be, one small bite at a time. But seriously, you need great customer data, and let's acknowledge that there's a lot of data out there, right? And when you mentioned the concept of segment of one, and I've heard previous presenters talk about it, and it's absolutely challenging, but that's the goal, right? And that's what we need to do. As you say, it happens in other sectors and other industries. Why can't we do that? And why can't we have that commitment to our HCPs that we're going to strive to provide that and get to know them? And by the way, often you can get this information if you just engage them and talk to them about it. Mm-hmm. So you need great customer data, and that could be a sort of a data, whether it's primary, secondary, or third-party data. And we'll get into a little bit of the data shortly, although I see we're running out of time here. You need intelligence on the best use of data, and ultimately, you need to be able to bring this to life. And my experience has been, when you use an agile approach and you have this sort of digital mindset within the organization, and you start small, one team, one brand, one country, you do a pilot, and you really emphasize the data that's focused on customer experience, it's very much achievable.
I agree. Let me run through a couple of slides so we can close out.
Yeah.
We may be a little short. We can provide the deck afterwards. Let's talk about data very quickly, right? So data is so critical to what we want to do to personalize at scale and to better engage our physicians, our patients, our consumers. What we want to think about is first-party data, second-party data, and third-party data. Erik, you just said it, right? How do we capture that more effectively, efficiently? And that means from HCP patients and consumers. How do we wire up our touch points in order to do that? How do we maybe at times gate for better value exchange, right? The more I gate, the more I log in, the more information I can get from you or tie to your behavior. How do we augment our data and our data capture? For example, conversational AI will absolutely deliver some of the richest structured and unstructured first-party data that you'll ever have. How do we leverage it? And again, data augmentation, you were hinting to it a little bit, Erik. What a great opportunity to use that through internal means, maybe across commercial and medical, but also external data pools. What are some of the considerations you have in the context of maybe local markets and global markets, Erik?
Yeah, I would just say, often less is more, right? And we have so much data, too much in fact, and from news sources, so we can get lost in it and spend too much time designing the perfect analysis. So I think experimentation, iteration is fundamental. And we heard it previously in previous presentations, this concept of progress over perfection. So to me, again, it's about our customer. It's about their experience and how we engage them. I would say start with the customer experience in mind and the key business questions that you want to answer. Things like how effective are your commercial campaigns? How effective are your medical scientific journeys? What is the return on those efforts? And really to answer the questions, you need to use the data and compare to industry benchmarks, competitors, best class companies, etc.
Nice. No, I agree. Let me maybe skip one slide and maybe close out on next best principles, really to engage our physicians and our customers. It's a bit of a buzzword in the industry, and many don't understand or articulate very well what that means. And the concept of next best is something that's very real, powerful, and significant, and is key to driving that contextual push. A definition of next best is next best action considers the many different actions that can be taken for a specific customer and decide on the next best one. And increasingly, that's powered by AI over traditional judgment or just human behavior. Next best could be next best conversation and a conversational AI agent. Could be next best follow-up to an engagement. Is it a summary of a discussion, additional content, additional service support? Next best could be next best follow-up by channel. Next best escalation to human, sales reps or MSL. And next best in terms of internal notification, internal or field teams. That requires a level of customer insights that's high though, and actionability. Erik, with 30 seconds left, next best, facts or fiction in your world?
Yes, so certainly not fiction, right? I mean, this is real, and quickly I can tell you we're enabling our field force through personalized digital assistants who recommend the next best, the list of things you just went through. And interestingly, it was one of the most appreciated capabilities that we introduced to our field force. So quick, maybe I'll just leave it there because I see we're at the bottom of the hour. But I highly recommend people engage with AI and ML capabilities with suggestion engines and digital assistants.
Absolutely. Dario, wow, 30 minutes flew like that. Look forward to questions and engaging the audience after the fact. And I think we're done.
All right. If we're done, see everyone. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Have a productive session.